Hey, beautiful people, Rev Derek here at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok at RevDerekTerry. Thank you so much for joining me for A Region in My Mind, a podcast. Thank you so much to my patrons. You can support the work at patreon.com/race rage fear. Now, just so you know, this week's podcast, the recording is just a little bit off. One of the tracks is softer than the others. Please bear with us. Headphones may help. We promise next week it'll be better. We're just trying some new ways of recording, and we're going to make it so much better for you next time. Today's episode we're super excited about. It's dealing with grief. It's a tough subject, but a lot of aging millennials like myself, people are losing grandparents, or we've lost grandparents, we're losing parents, we're dealing with our own loss of relationships or looks or all of that. And so let's talk about it. So excited to have one of my childhood friends, someone I literally grew up with, Kendra, here with us to discuss. She recently lost her mom. So without further ado, let's go. Hey, so welcome to the pod, Region in My Mind with me, Rev Derek. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at RevDerekTerry, and I'm here with a good friend. I was about to call you a full government name.
Derek, really?
First, middle, last. I was about to go there, but no. So here with my friend Kendra, who will introduce herself, and if she doesn't do a good enough job, I will help.
Hey guys, okay, so I'm Kendra Diane, K Diane with 2 I's on all social media platforms. Pretty sure there's an underscore in there somewhere. I suck at this. Sorry. There you go, Derek.
I'll make sure that it's on the video. So I've pretty much known Kendra forever. I feel like I don't know when I met you, but I feel like you just kind of always been around. So it's like growing up, we grew up in church together.
Yeah. I want to say Asbury days.
That's what it had to be.
It has to be because I have to go back. Okay, when did I meet your sister and all the girls? Asbury is my earliest. There we go. We're gonna start at Asbury.
Yeah.
I was.
Had to be early 90s, mid 90s.
I was it was before second grade because I remember we moved and I was in second grade. So yeah. Forever.
Yeah, forever. And so it's so interesting when I tell people I grew up in church with this person. They're like, oh, but they're from Memphis. And I'm like, but
yeah.
In the way we work, I saw them 3-4 times a year for 20 years.
Exactly. Those are my closest friends.
So it's like
I see my best friend probably once a year my entire life. And we didn't really spend quality time together outside of church until what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, you go to these meetings and you just wait to see people. And this is before social media. And so the friendships just went meeting to meeting. You're hanging out with people. You're hanging out in the lobby and you're skating and you're flirting and you're doing all those things and learning parliamentary procedure and how to run a worship service. And
so you understand how people adults today are very, very surprised when they find out that we learned parliamentary procedure as children. We were in elementary school running business meetings.
Absolutely.
Correctly. And so when it comes up now, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just second nature now. And people are like, you know that? How it's really, and I'm like, don't everybody know? Y'all didn't learn this in church camp?
Right.
My bad. And so it's just funny to be like, oh, y'all really taught us what we need to be doing out here. Okay.
Absolutely. And you just go to meetings and you know how to dress, you know how to act. But at the same time, you still get to be a child.
Yes.
But you know how to conduct yourself when, you know how to stand up and read the scripture, make a prayer, make a motion. I remember when I first made a motion at a YPD meeting, I was so nervous. So I was like,
I move.
Exactly. The chair recognizes. Right.
Yes.
It's so funny
because me and my siblings still do voted one, but on random stuff. We'll be in
God,
public, voted one.
I hate it. I hated elections, especially the old way. Now they're pretty much like, a lot is electronic and some of the larger stuff.
I'm saying, I have no idea what now is. So.
But so then there's that. So, but like it was like people would be so serious and they tally and counting on the big screen, and then you got all the crazy church ladies around with their notebooks because they're keeping track,
making sure, honey, every that paper was not counted. It was
exactly.
Serious.
So all that to say, we've known each other for a long time. Okay. I was in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, so I was ordained and was there until 10 years ago.
It's like the Bible, yes.
I know, right? Kiss the Bible. Your father was one of the elders who laid hands on me, actually.
Shout out to Elder Papa.
I think he preached the sermon. When I was ordained in 2008. I celebrate 20 years since I was licensed next year. Isn't that crazy? Like, I'm like, I started when I was 18. And so yeah, I have strong affection for the AME Church. I just am just not there anymore. But I'm glad. Like when I look at my friends in the process, like they didn't have a process to be ordained, or I got what I needed to be where I am. And if I hadn't gotten that, I couldn't have been called to where I am now. Exactly. So if I hadn't, gone through that process. So we've been together for a long time. And today she's helping me talk about something that is pretty heavy on a lot of us. I have a lot of friends right now. I'm like an old millennial. So, like when you look at the age, I'm not telling people my age, but when you look at the whole ages of these generations, I'm not quite a Gen Xer, but I'm not a young millennial. I'm not even a middle. I'm like at the other
millennial.
Exactly. I like that. And just a lot of us right now are just dealing with loss. A lot of us have lost grandparents and uncles, and my friends are starting to lose their parents. Some people are starting to lose relationships that, they got in college and thought this would be the person. They make kids, they buy the house, and then in their early to mid 30s, they're like, yeah, this ain't it. Loss of health and looks. Like, I look at old pictures and I'm like, dang, I used to be really cute. Not that I'm not now, but it was different. Like,
it was different cute. Like that cute was different.
Exactly. And the health, like I used to get sick and I'll be sick for like 2 days and then I was done. And now, like if I get a cold, I gotta stay home. And so just all these things. And I reached out to Kendra because November of last year when your mother passed? December. I knew it was around in there. So knowing Kendra my whole life, I've known her parents my whole life. And her mom was just one of the most amazing people in the world, who was always encouraging, always kind, always just like, she would always go out of her way to come and see me at a meeting. And the last time I saw her was at a funeral in Shelbyville. And this was like a COVID funeral. So everybody's wearing masks. So I knew that there were people in the room that I knew, but everybody has on a mask. And, we're social distance. And so, I'm staying away from people. This is my first thing, And so I'm outside and somebody comes up to me, Reverend Derek. And I instantly, she gives me a big hug and, how you doing and how's, and, it was just like, that's my whole life. And so when I found out your mother passed, it was one of those things that just kind of like, damn, you can cuss on the pod. I'll tell you that. I was like, damn, it just like hit me hard. And the first thing I thought was like, this is somebody that I used to see more regularly when I was in the denomination, but this is someone that I see maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years. And if it hit me like that, I can't even imagine what her children and, her husband of 40 years.
This year would have been 40.
Yeah, so immediately I reach out to you and I'm like, oh my God, I heard about your mom, just because, and I don't know what the situation was, but Black people, as soon as we hear something like that, people are like, what happened? Or was she sick? And it's just like, doesn't matter. It was just heartbreaking. And I couldn't make it to the funeral, but I was so Black. I told somebody, I was like, can you please send me a program?
Gotta get your program.
And I did. I mean, honey, it's on my altar. I did. Yes. I got my program because I was like, it was raining that week. I had finals and stuff. Not finals, but I think it was around finals. It was definitely some school stuff going on.
And because it was like December 14th, so it was probably like the last week of school right before break.
So, but anyway, I just wanted to, I reached out because I would love to just see if there's any insight you have on, and of course, we can talk and answer questions and all that kind of stuff on the grieving process. Because I know a lot of people, the closest person to me who passed is my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And when she died, her death was the one that I feared most. When I found out what death was when I was real, real, real little, the first thing I thought was, so Granny's gonna die. And that just broke my heart because no, I don't want that. And so I always thought that when she dies, I was probably gonna lose my mind. And so when it happened, that was my prayer. Lord, don't let me blow spit bubbles and go crazy.
Baby.
And so it's been 8 years. I think she died in 2014 since she passed. And so with you in a year, I thought that would just, we could talk about what it looks like in the infancy. It's been less than a year. And so I really appreciate you just for talking about that. So just tell us about your mom and your relationship with your mom and who she was. And
she was my best friend. Mom was everything. And I think one of the things I said at the funeral was it was amazing to see how many people that she touched and impact just show up, because it was hard to articulate. You guys were touched by her life. We were raised by her.
Right.
And she was just everything. I've always said mom was my human embodiment of love. My mother was the definition of love to me. She was the sweetest, most genuinely authentic person I've ever met. And I've seen her in situations where I'd be like, ma'am,
listen, church people, boy.
Church folk,
yeah.
Baby. And so, but I've seen her just be just calm and collected. And I was like, I just want that. I want to be that kind of calm and together. Because I've also growing up, as our relationship grew, we've had real conversations, and it was okay, that's my best friend. I come to her I come to one of my girls, hey, this is what happened today. And so then I got to see the other side of the calm, and then I'm like, girl, you could have went off. You should have went off. This is what you should have said. Let me give you a script. But she has always just been my entire life. She's always been genuinely loved. If I had to, that was just it. Articulated the love. Mom was love. She was genuine. She always saw the best in everybody. She would always find the bright spot in the darkest day. It didn't matter what it was, who it was. She'd find it. And what I loved about mom is she'd give you a plan for your life and make you believe it was your idea. And that's why I was I'm excited that she went into, academic advising, because that makes sense, because she was really good at mapping out the road for you and sending you on your way. But I love the fact that she took her time with everybody she came in contact with. Nobody can say it just felt general when you talked to her. Mom was intentional about talking to you as an individual and making sure whatever she had for you, you received, and vice versa, and going about her way. Like that was it. Like I don't know.
There were times because I struggled in the denomination sometimes because I was different. And so when I say that, people automatically assume queer. No, there's gay people all over the Amy church. When I say different, I mean I wore Jordans and cardigans and jeans, and my style of preaching and pastoring was not I didn't conform. That's the word I kept getting when I was going through ministerial training. Gotta conform. And I tried, like I just
like this is not it's not authentic.
It's not. And so Bishop McKenzie was awesome because she let me be me. And then one day she left, and that's a whole other story. But um your mom would go out of her way to find me because she knew what the Negroes were saying about me, and she knew that they were giving me a hard time, and she knew people were jealous of me. And I'm thinking, I make $2 a week at my church. I got like, why are you jealous? Like, like it's just. But she would always like seek me out. And even when I would be so negative and ready to like fight, she would she would just, hang in there. Oh, you'll be all right, baby. Just hang in there. And God is on your side. It was just always like, don't worry about them.
Yeah.
You just do your thing. And I don't know who, I mean, since you're on here, some Amy's probably are gonna meddle just to see what you say. But I saw how she was treated by some of those missionaries. And she was always like, the whole Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. I don't, but she did.
She did every time.
She did.
Every time. Like her Michelle Obama. Mom Michelle Obama, CeCe Winans. Every time.
And that's why, I mean, to this day, I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, and they were like, man, Diana Goffin dying, that still messes with me. And it's like that impact. So, and again, if there's anything you don't want to share, I can edit that out. And anything you're like, ooh. But like, so were you expecting, like, was she sick?
Okay. No. Okay. I'm going to answer this question that I've gotten all year.
I would imagine
that I haven't. This is honestly outside of my close circle. This is the first time I have spoken for real. If I'm being honest, like I've just been working. Honestly, no, she wasn't. Like we weren't expecting it. She wasn't sick, and we were hiding it from people.
Right.
She wasn't sick, and we were hiding it from people or anything like that. Like she legit had a heart attack. Walk you through that day. I was at work, and if you don't know, when I moved back to Lexington, Mom talked me into working at the same university she worked at.
Right.
We were on different campuses, so of course my routine. I didn't see her every day, but we talked every day because when she strolled into her office, she would call me in the morning. So instead of getting my normal call from Mom, I got a call from Dad. And so he was just like, your mom's sick. And then I was like, it was like, Mom don't ever get sick. Like, I mean, she might have a cold, and then, like, she'll ever sit down. So if you see her in the last couple of years, like, her foot was a little messed up. So it's like, Mom don't ever get sick. And so for Dad to call me, I was like,
right.
What do you mean? Drop everything, of course. And she had a heart attack. The crazy thing about it was my biggest struggle with grief was my frustration with the peace I got. Like, on one hand, it was like everybody around me was waiting on me to snap or fall apart, or which still be there because you don't know. Grief is the journey, not
Right.
But everybody was kind of on pins, and it was like, what is Kendra gonna do? What's Kendra gonna say? Is she gonna spiral? What's gonna go on? And I've been having an internal struggle with, I got the craziest sense of just peace. Like, to know my mom is to know one, her end goal was always to be with the Lord. Like,
Right.
that was why she lived. Like, her life's work was service, and she wanted to be with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, to know mom and to be like, she literally sat down on the edge of her bed, and that was it. It wasn't violent. It wasn't on her end. It was just like, my race is won. I'm gonna sit down. All right, me and Jesus gonna take this next step. And it was like, the traumatic part was being in the hospital.
Right.
Like, that part was traumatic. But to think about it as like, she literally sat down on the edge of her bed, and for her, that was it, you know?
Right.
And so I'm like, I couldn't ask God for anything more. She didn't struggle. She wasn't sick. It wasn't like we were, just at her bedside for days and months or whatever. It was just like, it was traumatic for us, but for her,
Of
it was like,
course.
I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, it was crazy because the last time I spoke to mom was the weekend before I went to Atlanta with some friends. And it was just like, that weekend, everybody had a great weekend. Like, my siblings had a good weekend. Everybody was just, it was good. And it was like, it did my heart well to know, like, she died knowing her children were okay. Because if you knew my mom, it was her children, her husband, and service. Like,
Yeah.
that was mom's life. And she didn't play by her kids. So it was like, she knew, like, everybody was okay. Everybody is doing well in their respective lanes. And we're out here just doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so it was like, that was a gift I feel like we gave her.
Mm.
And so, like, this piece has just been, it's been bothering me because a part of me is like, aren't you supposed to? Like, of course I've cried and I cry, but I'm also a crier, so I cry anyway. So,
It's such a healthy, like, when your mom died, you're supposed to cry.
you're supposed to
Like,
cry.
especially when you loved her and you have the relationship that that you all had.
You're supposed to cry. But it was kind of like, before mom died, okay, 2 years before, let's see, 18, 3 years before, my best friend's mom died.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we literally dropped everything, moved in, helped. Like, so it was like, I watched that, and that was the first up close experience I had with like that realization, like, our generation, like, we're losing our parents.
Yeah.
It's not just like our grandparents, like, these are our parents. These are the people we watched us grow up. Now we're watching them make this next transition. So I will say, watching that transition, like, up close and personal, was a lot, but it definitely gave me, I guess, some tools. If you can't really be prepared. But
Right.
if I say you needed to, whatever you need to kind of be cushioned for the fall, like, having that experience was like, okay, I know I'll never be ready, but it was like, okay, I know how this kind of flows.
But
As far as like the outward expression of grief, I think everybody is like, I mean, I screamed at the, like, her, well, I'll say the family funeral, because we had two funerals. And so, like, the first one for me was personally, it was like going through the motions. Like, if you like, it was like a church service to me. That's what it really felt like. It felt like a church service. But like, that second one with like my family in South Carolina, up street from my grandmother's house, like, that felt like, I'm watching y'all put her body in the
right.
ground. I know what's in that box. Like,
Right.
that was like, okay. And I got like that scream for my soul out. And after that, I was just like, all right, so what do we do from here? And then it gave me the push to, like, I want to check off all those things I said I was gonna do. Like, if mom knew those secrets I didn't tell nobody else, like those secret desires, like, I wanna do this. I don't know why, but I wanna do this. So like, it gave me the motivation to want to do the things she told me I was gonna do and I couldn't do anyways.
Right.
And it was just like, she gave me the tools I needed. So yes, it's frustrating and it's sad because I still dial her phone number today. When I'm in Kroger, I still put her phone number in. And it's like, so I have those daily human moments, but I'm like, it also gave me
Right.
the push to, because if she was here, Kendra, come on, let's go, let's do it. And she's giving me a plan for the next 6 months. And so it's like, having that internal conversation definitely helps. And one thing that's helped is actually talking about it. Like I'm
Mm.
not at the place where I'm ready for the what I call the random. Last time I saw your mama did, and they just kind of go.
Right.
That becomes a lot, but I mean, being honest, being the daughter of a pastor, you learn to master fake smiles. So you just smile and nod and keep on going.
Yep.
So, but like I've gotten to the place where I like to talk about her because I mean she's stitched in every fabric of my life. Like the every stitching, everything that pulls me together is her. And so like she comes out in ways and I'm like, these are the things I was like, oh my gosh, I admire this about you. And now I'm doing it. Like everybody always asks me, how'd you get in your career field? And I'm like, my mama. Like I've always known I did not want to be a teacher
Right.
at all. I knew the classroom was not for me. Bless y'all and y'all babies. But like I always wanted to be in education. So like mom never was a teacher, but she's always worked in education for a majority of my life. She was an academic advisor. And it was like to see her impact students who to this day are like my big brothers and sisters. Like these people helped me with science projects in elementary school. They were at the house. They took us to basketball practice, and like these people, you know how mom. I would say my parents collect people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really say mom collects people. Dad collects mugs. Mom collected people. We always had a new cousin, sister. So like mom, and I love that about her because mom had the ability to raise four individual people.
Right.
We are not spitting images of either one of them. We are four very different people, and she was very serious about us holding on to our identities and who we were, and not just being the golfing kids. Like we were, of course, we'll always be the golfing kids, but she was serious about no. This is Kendra. This is Chastity. This is Chauncey. This is James.
And
And
that
being able to stand in it has been beautiful.
that's so important because I didn't say it, but Kendra's father was a pastor, is a pastor, but also now presiding elder in the AME church, which makes Kendra and her siblings PKs, which makes Sister Diana a
First
preacher's
lady.
wife, a first lady. And so all of these things they add to it. And they also, I would imagine, add to the grief because you do share your mom with, like you said, she loved us, she encouraged us, but she raised you. And so there are all these people who have their own little relationships. And one of the things that I really wanted to stress um, is as we go through this, I think it's important for our friends and our contemporaries to not distance themselves when friends grieve. So here's the process. When I found out about Sister Goffin, my first thing was, oh my God, how's Reverend Goffin? How's Kendra? Because I know your siblings, but you're the closest one that I have a relationship with. And at first I was like, oh, they probably busy. They probably got a lot going on. I don't want to, but at the same time, I was like, no, like when you love people, you have relationships. It's not about me calling you and telling you stop what you're doing and talk to me and tell me everything. It's just let me let you know I'm thinking about you. I love you. If you want to talk, if you need anything, I'm not here to meddle. I'm not here. I'm just FYI, because so many people, I lost friendships when I lost family members because they weren't there. And people say, oh, I didn't know what to say. And I'm like, dude, you ain't have to say nothing. Just like be there. just,
Yeah, that's what I'll say. It has definitely defined a lot of friendships. Like, I mean, I was already life in general, especially like COVID, and I've moved and different things like that. So like life has already defined a lot of friendships, but it definitely puts stamps on a lot of yeah, we're not going back there again. Mom was
Exactly.
right about so and so.
Hmm.
And it was just like, and you're right, people, they don't like you get lost in the I don't know what to say and they don't say anything. And
Exactly.
the thing that I appreciate, because if you know me, you know I'm an isolator. When I go through stuff,
Right.
I will shut down. But I
Me too.
appreciate my friends like, you can come shut down to my house. And so like that night I went to one of my friends' house and I sat there and watched her move furniture around. And like she just went about her day. But it was just like, no, you can come here. And like
Exactly.
just simple stuff like I got ready for mom's funeral and the wake and like that whole weekend at my friend's house. And like my friends were serious about just showing up. We don't have to do nothing. We can just sit here And that's what it did. And that's what I needed. Especially like if you know me for a long period of time, like growing up in the church. Well, I say for our denomination, like the AME church, it's a lot of pomp and circumstance. And so to have my friends, like, I know you may need a break from the family and the church
Mm-hmm.
and just everything, come here and it's just like, you don't have to talk about it. We can talk about nothing, or we can talk about everything.
Right.
And just to have that was everything I needed, because some days I did just want to stare at the ceiling fan go round and round. Some days I wanted to play phase 10. Some days I want to talk and cry about mom.
Right.
But to have like, so that's one thing I will say, like, don't pull away from people when they go through. Like, just check on them and just simply ask what they need, because a lot of times we'll tell you, or just simply let them know I'm here for when you figure it out, because you may not be able to articulate it. But 9 times out of 10, it'll be expressed in some way or another.
Absolutely.
But don't just distance yourself, because that grief is isolating in itself. And sometimes we need that reassurance from our friends, like we're adjusting to our new normals. But life is still here. Like, your friends are still here. Just because my mama died, I shouldn't have to lose my best friend.
Right.
Like, y'all can. I still want to go out. I like food. I want to go out to eat.
Exactly.
And like those, like the normalcies of life. Like my best friends, like he pushed me. Like, we still have to live. Like, you still have to get up. You have to go to work. You have to go eat. Like you're right. Like, mom wouldn't want, like, her thing is like, you can cry, but don't cry long. It was like, because mom we couldn't get her to sit down.
I was about to say, right, always going. Right. I mean, I would see your parents everywhere. That was like
everywhere. They were everywhere.
It's one of the. Go ahead.
I was like, and so like getting people, like just having moms just busy being everywhere, that pushes me now to be like, mom would not be sitting here crying and snotting. She's like, all right, I'm sad, I miss you, but I'm gonna miss you as I work. Like, she was definitely a woman of service, and like for that, I love and I respect her forever, eternally.
There was a couple things that made me think. The reason I wanted to do this episode is I preached my grandmother's eulogy. She passed on Wednesday. The funeral was that Saturday. And, for Black people, it was pretty fast. It was pretty fast turnaround. But she had been sick for a year. She'd been dying for a year. And I was ready to get it over with. Because, like that time between death and funeral is people and busy. And so I preached and I recorded the message, put it on my YouTube page, and I reposted it a week ago. And there were people who reached out to me like, oh my God, you did my grandmother's funeral. Oh my God, you did this person's funeral. And, you're really good at funerals. And, you said this and it really helped me. And I listened to what you just did about your granny and it really helped me. And I mean, I've done some tough funerals for some close people. And in doing all that, there's so many like things I've learned about just dealing with people in those situations. Mm-hmm. And the importance of talking about it. My family, when people would talk, bring up my grandmother, they would say, oh, you're going to make me sad. I'm going to cry. And I would like, if I didn't know one thing about my grandmother, if you did not cry for her every now and then, she's going to be pissed. Like, this is your mama. Right. Your mama is dead. You're supposed to cry. Your grandmother is dead.
Those tears, it's a requirement somewhere in there.
Right. And my grandmother's crazy. Because she would sit around and something sad would happen or something would come up. And like we'd be in the middle of a family function and she'd say, well, I'm going to cry later. I'm not right now. Or whatever. But later I am.
I got some tears for you.
Exactly. And so I think about that. And then I also think about people like your mom, people like my grandmother. And I said this in the message. My grandmother made it weird. She was so encouraging and so loving that whenever I saw her, and you know how you are as a teenager, 20-something, like with emotions. Oh, I love you. You hear it? Like then we get off the phone. She's like, I love you. Or, how's school? How's this? And I remember, like this girl broke my heart. I mean, like, this is the freshman year in high school. I really liked her. And true story, she told me that, she got in trouble. She broke her father's watch. And I took my little, I was working a little 2, 3 hour after school job, went, got the watch fixed. Right. Got the watch fixed. So she wouldn't get in trouble. Come to find out it was her nigga's watch that was in our class. And we're supposed to be girlfriend and boyfriend, and they making out in the gym. Right. And I told my grandmother, I was like crushed. And my grandmother, she went on this 20-minute tirade. I can't tell you what she called that little girl. And she was just, I'll forget her. She's a hoe. And blah, she just went on and on and on. But what she was saying, and her biggest thing was, don't worry about that. It's like a bus. Another one will come and it'll be even better ride. And she just kept going on and on and on. And her thing was, don't let anybody make you feel less than. She was like, you can do it. Hang in there. She was always encouraging. And now, even though she's been gone 8 years, I can still hear her just as clear as day. So that's like a lesson. I make it so weird. So it used to be when people like would find out somebody has died or something hard is going on, people will step back. I run to, hey, FYI, I love you. If you need it, I make it so weird. And even if people don't, validate it or justify, I feel like I've done my part. I put it out there. Every now and then, I'm still gonna check on you, and people appreciate that. So it's just such a good lesson from people like your mom.
It really is, especially being the daughter of a pastor, and like my parents being in leadership in their respective places. It's like you've got just the normal amount of people coming, condolences and all stuff, and then you've got church people and people connected through church, and that's a lot of people. Like, cause some people, like when I said, they're like, oh, it's just like the people. I was like, no, not just like the church my dad pastored.
Yeah, people don't understand the nature.
Yeah, and I was like,
talking
like,
200 churches.
We're talking, and that's like minimal. And then dad is like he's known connectionally, so there's people. I met this lady in Walgreens, and she was like, I heard about your mama, and I'm like,
your last name Dolphin, you're in relation to Kenneth. Yeah.
That's exactly how it happened. The lady read my whole government name at the pharmacy. And she was like, oh yeah. And so you know how that goes.
Exactly.
And so like it's really important. It's always been important. And mom really, me and my students talking about it today. Mom was really serious about teaching us how to be friends so we could have genuine friendships.
It's important.
And so now looking back, I thank her for that because I need that now more than ever. Being able to have our just core group of people that is not church friends, it's not school friends or what it's the work friends. Just like these are your friends, whatever life goes through, these are the people who are going to show up regardless. And mom taught us that. And it was crazy because I never really thought about not a lot of people get taught the priority of friendships and showing up. And now, because like to us, like mom, especially being kids, the church, like dad's a pastor, so the church children became our friends automatically.
Right.
So whatever.
Because you're at church every time the doors open.
Right. And so it's like you gotta invite all the church kids to whatever you do. Like, mom, I don't even talk to them. But she taught us the importance of being friends and friendship. And it was crazy because I'm like, now as an adult, I'm like, there are a lot of people who don't understand. Like, you can't just ask people to show up for you for your birthday, but you didn't talk to them on a random Thursday. Like, I talked to you last year.
You preaching.
And so it's like those moments now, like it blows my mind now. Like, I don't have a child, but I have conversations with my sister. Like, normally, of course, she would call mom for these conversations.
Right.
And now we have like child conversations about my niece, and I'm like, girl, I don't know. But then it's like I hear mom's voice, and then the thing about that is like mom was serious about surrounding us with strong women. We were surrounded by women because mom was a missionary, so there was a lot of women around. But mom was serious about making sure that she introduced us and formed relationships with us and for us, and started relationships for us with women who can stand in the gap for her.
Absolutely.
And so, like, that has changed my life now.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, I appreciate it then, but I always had my mama. Like, at the end of the day,
Right.
like, I got, like, the church women supposed to mom become aunties and things like that. But, like, I still got my mama. But now to see, like, people transition into those mom roles, like, Mama Pat, forever. Pat Johnson, I love you. But it's like to know people who genuinely have relationships with my mom. Like she
Right.
saw my mother, not just first lady. So it's easy to be like, I can
The
talk to you.
person, the
Yeah.
human.
And that's all I've ever wanted from my parents. Is like I want y'all to have friends who see you. Not your role, not your title at church or at school, people who genuinely see you. And so like those people showing up and being like, hey, I know you don't need this, but if you do,
Exactly.
here it is. And not wavering in that has been the thin line between me losing my mind and not. Because I know like it's not smothering, that's what I'll say.
Right.
And that's what I've learned is like the fake is smothering.
Right.
I'll say that. That is probably the nicest way I can come out and say.
And it's smothering for you
Yeah.
to have to deal with it. I mean, I remember one of the times I reached out to you and I was like, because I'm totally honest. If I'm getting on your nerves, if it's uncomfortable, if it's weird, let me know. I won't be offended. I'm not gonna be like, Kendra, I mean, I know her mama died, but damn, she wouldn't.
She wouldn't even ask. She left me on red.
But but you were very much like, no, I appreciate this. Like, like it really means a lot. And not everyone has that language. So like it's really important to people listening that you can't expect the grieving person to always behave well in these moments. Like life doesn't prepare you to lose your mom. So if you reach out or if you put your neck out there, you do that part. Or if they don't ever reach out to you, because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm just waiting to hear if she needs anything. It's like, make it weird. Go be honest. I don't know what to say.
I'm gonna tell you to leave me alone.
Exactly.
Here's my PSA for today. If you are out there watching and you are wondering if you can talk to check in on me, do it. Because in the moments I don't want that or I just need a moment, I'm gonna tell you. So we'll be good. I'm not the type of person just gonna let you smother me. No, I'm gonna tell you, and we can come back to this when I'm in the mood.
Exactly.
But yeah, don't like you said, make it weird. Because we're gonna show up and be like, yeah, no, all right, you're being weird. Or we're gonna accept it. Like, I appreciate it when you reached out. Like, and that's also because I mean we have a genuine relationship. Like we don't talk every day. But you're one of my oldest and closest friends. Like I know if I need to, I can talk to you about literally anything.
Exactly.
And so you reached out and was like, hey, yo, I'm like, no, thank you. Because I needed to feel something. Like that was the thing too. Because I know like from that Tuesday to the first funeral was on Saturday. And it was just like I needed to feel something that felt real. Because it was like a whirlwind, of course. Family came in and then the church, And so I needed something real. And two things that stuck out to me outside of like my normal core everyday friend group was specifically you sent me a message and Roderick Beelan sent me a message. And I was like, thank you. Because one, I know you two get it on levels that I am not allowed to articulate. And so like it meant so much to me to be like, thanks. And to be able to I know I can genuinely express how I feel unfiltered with you and also him. And it'd be like, okay, you good and it's safe. And so like having those safe places is very important. And I think people like when people get I don't know what to say, so you don't say nothing when you start acting weird, that makes your friendship that was perfectly fine the day before start to feel unsafe. Like if you got weird around me after my mom died, it feels like it's weird. Like of course, like nobody knows what to say when somebody's mama dies. Don't nobody prepare you for that but Disney.
Like, right. And they wrap it up in 123 minutes.
There you go. Like, Disney are the only people who can be like, hey, this is how your mama, there you go. This is how to cope when your mama died. Other than that, don't nobody have words to really say. And you don't really expect people to come with all the flowery words and be like, this is the solution. My mama's gone. Unless you bring her back, just be you. Like, be authentically you. Be who you were yesterday before she passed away. And let's move on. Like, I'm going to need you to be you because I'm going to need to remember what my life looked like before my mama died.
Right.
Like, as you're putting the pieces of your life back together, it's crazy when all your friends are like, well, I didn't know what to say, so I haven't talked to you in 3 months.
Right.
Like, that's not realistic. Like, that's not life. Like, grief is not going to go away. It's not like, oh, after this year, her 1 year anniversary, we're good. I've got like one of my mentors, she like her mom died when she was younger and she's older than me now. And she's like, I still have moments. Like, there's still days, there's still moments, there's still months that I'm just like, this month is the month. And it's like, so people have to, like, it's an adjustment for everybody. Like, of course you want to be there. And like, I am not the best when it comes to like serious situations. Like, I'm going to be there and show up, but I'm also the one who's at the hospital telling my mama, like, if you didn't want to have Christmas this year, we could skip.
Right.
Like, that was me. And so I'm just like that's really just been me. Like, I'm gonna laugh because laughter is how I get through. Like, just laugh. Because like, if you knew mom was lighthearted and she was hilarious.
Absolutely.
That was funny. And it was just like the crazy, like, just side, like what? Did you really? Okay. But it was like in those moments you kind of get like I see like be able to see glimpses of her, what I call them, in every day. Like, just like when I find like what I call the bright spot in the darkest part of my day, like those are mom moments. And like everybody, like if you know, like I'm a dreamer and I haven't dreamed about her, so like that was a big thing for me. But then I had to take it a couple steps back because I was like, because I am a dreamer, I specifically asked God, like, hey, can we pause on the dreams for a minute? Because I don't think I'm ready. So then it was funny because I was like, well, dang, I ain't dreamed about her. And so like just going through that. But it's just been a beautiful, I guess, bright spot in the darkest part of my life so far. To just see glimpses of her in every day. Like, it just be the smallest. I'd be at work and it'd be like a work situation. And I always think about talking to mom about like her and her students and how she got a student, like she just watched these people grow up. And I'm like, oh, I remember when so-and-so started and now they're, and I'm just like, and that's what I think about, like, all of my babies now, like they're in college now. And I'm like, I remember when I was mentoring and they were in high school worried about, and it was just like, that's where I got the love I had for people. Cause like I always say, like, I don't really like people. And I think I get and project like the standoffishness a little bit because of church, and you get like I said, fake is smothering. And as a PK, fake is smothering. And you get a lot of this, like chaos just all around you. And so like to be able to have like my mom who's consistently from the day I met the lady to the day she took her last breath, she's consistently been just love. Like, it's okay. It's cool. We got this. Here's a plan. I'm like, Mom, the world is falling apart. She's like, it's cool. It's fine. We got this. And she just come up with a plan and be like, oh, wait, what? And so like now it's like, it's cool. It's fine. We got this. Like, I called my mentor the other day and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm about to have an anxiety attack. I just feel anxious for no reason. And it was just like, it's cool. It's calm. We got this. And like, we just talked and I told her about the podcast and I was just like, so are you anxious about that? And I was like, honestly, I'm not. One, because Derek is a friend and I would have this conversation if we were recording or not.
Exactly.
Like, that's what I told you. I'm like, I'm an open book. Like, I can talk to you about whatever. We can decide we edit out later. but I'm like, I'm an open book, and actually having the conversation is easy because it's not like, I was like, I don't necessarily want to be on here crying and snotting for 48 minutes.
Right.
But I was like, that's also not been my journey. And I think that's been one of the reasons why I said yes. Because a lot of people haven't seen me. Like, because honestly, like after mom died in December, I moved back to Nashville in March.
Right.
And I've been working since. Like, if it's not work related or going to see my father or my niece, it don't exist. Like,
I
that's
feel that.
really all I've been doing is working. So a lot of people haven't really seen me. And so everybody's like, I don't know how she's dealing with grief. And so, like, I'll say something on Facebook about mom, and then I get bombarded with it. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm just remembering, just a memory. It's okay. And it's like I've been trying to find a way to say, like, no, I'm okay. I can mention her and it not be the end of the world, and it not mean like, ooh, I'm posting so people could check on me. Because one, that's not me. I'm not posting
Right.
for y'all to check on me because it's okay. And so like I found myself being quiet because one, I'm like, I don't really know what to say. Because I feel like just getting up and randomly talking about it feels very like disingenuous to me. Because if you know me, that's not me just
It's
going
not your
live every day
personality. Right.
and crying on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Right.
And that's not me. Like, you'll get a nice collage to one of the songs that may remind me of her. And that's it. It was like, so a lot of people, like, so as far as the church, a lot of people first saw me annual conference season. So, of course, I went home for the closing of annual conference. And so that was the first time I saw most of those people since the funeral. And it was good to see people. It was also good to come home.
Oh, I bet.
And it was like, it was funny because everyone was like, "Are you coming for the week?" No. Like, yeah, all I needed to know was my daddy was okay. And it was like checking on my dad because, of course, like, I mean, this is a year first. Everything this year is first.
Right.
And it's weird because now it's like something we talked about my whole, like, just, I won't say my whole life, but dad's career, like, has been, or ministerial career, has been what we're into now. And so it's like to see this side of it, like, we talked this forever. And then he's like,
Right.
he's still doing it. And it's like, that made me know that things are going to be okay. Like, watching dad go back to work and was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And I'm like, well,
I love that because, I was worried about your father. Like, your father is one of those, like, I consider him a father is figure in ministry. Like, again, he was always there. It was just like I go to a meeting and I was like, "Hey, Rev Golfin, hey, how you doing, son?" And we're talking, and he telling me, "Oh, Kendra's doing this and that, and Diana's around here somewhere. Make sure you go see her." Like if they were together, it was like this is what we did. Like,
there you go.
I mean, we traveled together. We, like we went. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this in here, but I'm gonna tell you because it's hilarious. We went. So when Reverend Strong died, my car could not make it to Memphis. I had a Louisville car. It was the perfect car for Louisville. It did not need to go on the road. Even though, remember one time we were in Memphis and I had a car that got messed up.
We got lost. No, you got us lost in Memphis first of all.
And it broke down in the
car
hood.
Broke down in the hood. Lost in Memphis.
I forgot about that. In the hood. I mean
at night though. It was at night.
It was real anyway. But so my car wouldn't make it. But I had the resources, the financial resources. Reverend Golfin was like, "Oh, I'm a little strapped this week, but I want to go." And I was like, "Oh, if you drive, I'll do this part." And he was like, "Well, I got point, so we're making this work." He was like, "Well," so we get in the car, he's like, "Just so you know, the reverse don't work."
Oh God.
So I was like, so we go, wait a minute. So we go to Memphis, and but we can't go in reverse. And he had a whole plan. He was like, "Well, if we park right, then all we got to do is pull out, or like, if I have to, I can, drive, and then he's, kind of bump the little tire thing and back on." I think this is good. Like, I just more than anything, I wanted to just,
encourage people to not isolate people when they're grieving, but then at the same time to let people, like when my grandmother passed, I was over a church member's house. And when I got the call, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She's like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." It's just like, "No, your grandmother was your world. You loved her. You this," until I started crying. And then she was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Damn, this is not what I was trying to do."
I was trying to hold it together.
And then, she lived in the suburbs. So it was like a 35-minute drive. And I get in the car, and I had to pull over because I felt like my like my heart literally broke. Like I was an anxiety attack. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even cry because I couldn't breathe to get the tears going. But after that, like when you talk about the peace, that calm, like after that moment, and God gave me the language, like I repeated this mantra for a couple of years. I will not let feelings of grief cripple me. I will not let feelings of grief cripple me. I will not let feelings of, and I used to say it over and over. And I remember Googling before I did her eulogy, how not to cry. I don't mind crying, but I figured that if I got up there behind the lecture and started, I wouldn't have stopped. It was the first time preaching in Young Chapel without her being in her seats.
Exactly.
And so
that's crazy because I thought about you because like I spoke at mom, like I did children's tribute or whatever at mom's funeral, and I thought about you because I was like, how in the heck did he do a eulogy? I just gotta say a couple words that I just and I don't know, wrote in my phone 20 minutes ago. But it was crazy because everybody's like, how did you? Honestly, I did not have my contacts in that day. If you would have in my face, I did not see you. That's how we managed that. It was a nice blur of people. It was nice. It was a sanctuary full of beautifully dressed blobs.
Not say blurs.
But I was like, I know, because I know me, and I'll sit there and I'll look at each individual person, and it's like, I'll go through their stories of how mom met them. And I can't do that right now. And because mom was a people, like, it was like her collection in St. Paul. And I've never been in St. Paul for a service for real without mom. Like,
exactly.
Like the last couple of years I have because I started teaching the dance team at St. Paul. And so, like,
it's not service though.
Yeah, it's not service, but it's like, but anything big, Diana was showing up. Evelyn's first solo, Diana was there. The first time the girls danced, Diana was there. So it was like anything big, mom was there. So to have that, first of all, I'm speaking at a church, mom was there. Because y'all know, those are few and far between. Kendra likes to, that's my father. I've been trying to nominate my sister for that position, but she don't listen.
but that like those moments, and it's so when people ask me how did I do it, one, your father was pastoring her church at the time, but he had just got there. And so he knew her, but he didn't know her the way of course, the way I did. And we knew that my grandmother wouldn't want anyone else to. And I knew that I could. And I also knew that it would be beneficial to me and to I'm the oldest of my generation. So to my younger cousins. And and it was a constant prayer of, and I'm usually not like a manuscript writer. I usually just like, what's it called? Just outline. But with that, I literally needed a manuscript, and I studied it because I was like, I can't, like, if I start crying, I'm gonna end up snotting and blowing spit bubbles in the pulpit. But it was just such a tribute.
I'm over here, starting my little tribute with scriptures. And it's like, I said, I don't get nothing else right. Just read the scripture right. Just get these correct as you sit here in a room full of ministers and pastors and bishops, and the bishop was there because the bishop did mom's eulogy. So right. Like, just read the scripture right. You can stumble through everything else. So I was like, what was in your phone? The scriptures.
But to say the shade that I'm about to throw is a whole lot of those preachers could not preach their way out of a wet paper bag. So you was all right. We just gonna say the truth. We just gonna tell the truth. But any advice that you have?
Advice.
I mean, it's still fresh, but
I say this, and it wasn't necessarily mom dying. I was talking to my therapist, and I was like, honestly,
that's advice right there. Therapy
and Jesus works every time. Everybody's like, how am I? Therapy and Jesus. There you
Praise
go.
the Lord.
Amen. So I was talking to my therapist, and I was just like, we don't think about how we grieve life. Like when you're younger, you're like, I'm gonna be this when I grow up. I'm gonna have this particular kind of life when I'm 30. And then that doesn't happen. That's a grief moment. When I turned 30, take that back. When I turned 20 now, I was like, I just want to be 30 when I'm 30. I don't want to be married by the time I'm 30. I don't want to be a homeowner by the time I'm 30. I don't want to be this place. I don't want to put a title. I want to be 30. Whatever 30 looks like for me, that's what I want to be. And when I took that pressure off of myself, it made me look at grief in a different way because I was like, you have people, first of all, you'll grieve your own life and all the expectations you said you were going to do.
You preaching again.
All that stuff. But then you have to give people room to grieve the life they thought you were going to have. And that's a hard thing because not only are you like, okay, me and my best friends from kindergarten plan to get married and live next door to each other and raise our kids and repeat the cycle. And it doesn't happen. And you're like, well, life doesn't happen. Like, of course it doesn't happen like that. We went to different schools. You lived on the West Coast. And you
were 8 when you thought that was going to happen.
But you have, so my 28-year-old self had to remind my 8-year-old self that, like, just because I've grown up and realized I'm going to move and probably never see you again. But that's also a church thing because we moved a lot and I've gotten used to making new friends over again. So, but I was like, life happens and I may not want to get married and live next door to you and live in a small town USA. But other people that seriously, they may never let that go. That 8-year-old dream is the dream they're living with at 28 and 38. And when you decide to go left and y'all plans have always been to go right, you have to give people room to grieve you deciding to go right. And when you do that, I think it eases a lot of the tension because a lot of that is just, well, I thought we was going to do this. I know, it's okay. It took me a minute to realize we wasn't going to do that. Like me and one of my childhood best friends are no longer best friends. And it's weird. To this day, it's still weird. I'm like, we were inseparable. If you saw me, you saw her. You saw her, you saw me. And it's like, it's us. Together. You're going to be in my wedding. You're going to be the godparents of each other's kids. And now it's like, no, it's no love loss. It's just like we've grown. And I had to grieve all of the things I was like, oh my gosh, I have to grieve my best friend not being at my wedding or being there when I have a child or being there at just the milestones in my life. And so like when I had to grieve my mom, I got to take smaller pieces. You don't have to take the whole thing. My mom is going to be gone for the rest of my life. So I don't have to bite that in one swallow and be like, okay, this is what it is. It allowed me to take it in small doses. Like I don't have to process the entire thing. Some days it makes sense. Like, okay, her heart stopped. God decided it was time. Cool. And you roll with the punches. Some days I cannot comprehend it. Like logically, I know it. I sat there, I watched it. Like that was my first, like mom's death, because prior I don't do death well. Telling me about death is always, they'd be like, y'all tell Kendra. And so like mom's death, it was like, that was the first time I touched a dead body. But I was like, you're going to get her hair and her lipstick correct is what you're going to do. And so it was like,
have my mama up there looking crazy.
Because what she not going to do is come back and be like, so you just going to let there and have my curls all frizzy and my lipstick the wrong shade. And so it was like having those interactive moments of closure. And like I've been around funeral planning my whole life. My dad's a pastor. I've watched him put together a funeral service. Putting together mom's funeral was different. Oh, it was different, but it made sense. It made all of the other pieces make so much sense. So I guess my piece of advice is like, grief happens. Don't just think about grief with death. I like we say, like, it's not just like the death of my mom. It's like loss in general. You're going to grieve losing your first boyfriend or girlfriend or partner. You're going to grieve your first heartache. You're going to grieve losing a job you really liked. You're going to grieve losing friendships. Like life and grief are hand in hand. You're going to lose as you grow. Like you were a seed at one point in time and then you had to break the shell and come out of the dirt. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, I left my little shell in the dirt. You're a flower, baby. Keep going.
Right.
Keep going. And so it's like when I look at it like that and not tackle the whole concept of my mom is gone. Right. She's gonna be gone forever. I'm gonna have moments of my mom's not gonna be here for whenever I decide to get my life together and get married. Those things that you always like, mama's gonna be there, we're gonna plan this and we're gonna do this. I have to live with the reality. My mom didn't live long enough to see any of her children get married. And so it's like, those are moments where I know, like, okay, those are going to be moments. And so, like, I don't have to make every day a moment. And that's something my best friend, he was like, you don't have to make every day a moment.
Right.
You're going to have your moments. So let those moments be moments. But you don't have to wake up and be like, today I'm going to grieve my mom. And just like walk into it with this depressed attitude. And really, when I just kind of approach it like that, it's like, it happens. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. Just because you see me out here smiling and going through life, that's because of who my mom was.
Right.
That's definitely not on the strength of myself. That is because if you knew mom, she was, let's get it done. There's something to be done. Let's work. And so mom was not a sit down and let's cry. And no, mom was a, let's figure out how to fix. We can cry while we work though. You can shed them tears and keep going. It's like, that's been my motivation this year, is like, mom wouldn't want me to sit here and be like, oh, you're gone. And no, okay, all right, yes, I am. But what are you going to do now? Because you're not here with me. So that December 14th was not my last day. And something I told my therapist was, I had to stop saying that I lost my heart when my mom died.
Language is important.
I started to act like I did not have a heart.
Exactly.
And it was like, I got really, really cold and really distant. And I was just like, well, no, it broke my heart and it hurt. But I didn't lose my heart. And I felt like in turn, it would be a dishonor and a disservice to her to be like, I'm just be cold because I am my mother's daughter. I am very, at my core, when I'm not being Kendra, I am very much Diane. And at my core, I am very open and loving and I care about people. And I think the fact that I care about people, also like finding that line between I care and I don't want to care too much, because if something goes wrong or somebody hurt them, I'm ready to square up. I'm not my mama in that way. That's what I've had to kind of find the balance in, because mom will find the cool, calm, and collected way to serve you people. And Kendra be like, I just want to fight. But just having the mom love and having that, like you said, language is important. So not speaking that like I don't have a heart anymore, I lost my heart when my mom died. It was like, no, she was one of the biggest pieces of who I am today. And she poured into my heart, but I still have a heart. And so being able to just look at it like that and be like, mama want me to cry. So today, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to do something that she would enjoy. I'm going to do something that reminds me of her, which was shopping. So pray for my credit card bills.
I'm about to say, you need my sizes. That's you need my sizes.
To Jesus and jobs. And divine connection for real. Because like my job, literally, the lady, it just kind of came together. And when I tell you I doubled my salary in a day from a 4-hour conversation, and I was like, these are things mom was like, Kendra, you can do that. Why wouldn't you? And I'm like, I don't know. Well, so-and-so. And it's like, just do it. And I had a conversation, and now I'm just like, I'm doing what I love to do. And it's stressful, but I understand stress in purpose. So it's like living in, like, the hardest part about this side of it is that she doesn't get to see it. Like physically, I know everybody's like, she's looking down on you, and
right.
But it's like she doesn't get to see this version of me. Like she doesn't get to see me.
And you don't get to experience her scene.
Yeah, like I don't get to have those moments. Like I remember when you was talking about your stuff.
Right,
oh my gosh, let me tell you, and like having those kind of moments. So I value connections when I find people who get that. Like I love when mom had a group of women who were like, they worked in the same field and they were like there for her. They understood. And now those women show up for me and my siblings now. And I was like, I love that. And now I've been able to surround myself with people who provide those same core values that mom instilled in us, and was very particular about making sure we knew that. I know I'm going to introduce you to a lot of people because of my dad's job and the nature of ministry, but these are people you can trust.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned from mom. That's kind of hard to say, but one of the things that stick out the most now is like being able to understand and know these are people you can trust. And so like having the people, because mom had a really, like, she was nice and she was very open and there for everybody, but she definitely had a good eye. But okay, baby, that's your friend. All right. Okay. And like she'd be very nice to them. She ain't meet nobody she was like mean to, but she would definitely show us qualities of being good people and being good friends, so we could see that in turn, because life surrounds you with a lot of fake stuff. So you have to learn how to see. You like my politically correctness.
That's beautiful.
I've been working on it.
But it's so important. One of the things that you were saying, and then I guess we can wrap up. One of the things that helped me when my grandmother passed is there's a member of my church who's a Yoruba priestess. Mm-hmm. Actually, she's Shango, the same as Iyanla, honestly. But so Yoruba is not necessarily religion. It's just a way of life, cultural way of life, West Africa, Yoruba land. And she was really teaching me a lot about ancestral reverence, veneration of the dead as relates to our Black people. Mm-hmm. And it's the whole idea that when an ancestor dies, or when someone dies, they become an ancestor. And our ancestors are advocating in the spiritual realm to God on our behalf. Like, they are literally Denzel and the Preacher's Wife, like, trying to, talk. And, like, my grandmother being my biggest encourager, like, the whole idea, they teach that it takes a year for the soul to recognize, oh, okay, this is my new role, like angel in training. But it's like, after that, they are advocating to God, and there will be these ways, so they just pop up, and that we can, it's our birthright is what we're taught. It's our birthright to go to our ancestors and say, while we're talking to Jesus, while we're talking to God, hey, I need, this come with me. I need these things. And that was so liberating for me. And so I did something 1 year of her death. I had the woman in my church help me. I planned a party at my house to celebrate her awakening, great awakening on the other side. And I had all her favorite foods. I made a playlist of all her favorite music. I invited a very small group of close people. None of them knew her because I don't live in I live in a different city. So none of them knew her, but they know her through me. Mm-hmm. And they came and I talked about her and we ate the food and I talked about, why she ate this, and we played the music. My grandma loved music, loved to dance. And so I didn't use that year anniversary as sitting around, oh my God, I'm so sad. It was, I have an angel I know the name of. She was on my side. She loved the hell out of me. And I'm going to celebrate her life and introduce people to her in that way. And so I'm always in Yoruba culture, before you pray, you'll go back as many generations as you know of your family. You call them by name. Because you're talking to God, but you're also talking to your ancestors. So that was just so just hearing you, and when I asked you to do this, you were so gracious. And I prayed and I was like, okay, God, I'm not trying to exploit my friend's grief. And I'm also not trying to I said, if it doesn't go well, if it's not a healthy moment, if I didn't think it would be healthy for you, then I would be so we ain't gonna release this. You know what I'm saying?
But that's why I agreed to it, because one, I trust you. And like I told you, like, the crazy thing is, like, I have been trying to figure out how to use my voice. If you know me, I'm a writer. I would
I about to say you're a writer. Yeah.
I would definitely prefer to write, but it's one writer dance. Like one of the, I don't really want to be talking to y'all, but one of the, like last year, Mom was on my neck about speaking at something one of the churches did about like basically why our generation's leaving the church. And like,
I think I was on that. It was like a panel.
Yeah, it was a panel. Like we did on Zoom, like little virtual thing.
And here I am, been gone from the AMD church. But I said, Kendra speaking.
And because like Tina was on there. So it was great. Yeah.
And you were amazing. But yeah.
But like that was, shout out to Diana, because Kendra was like, I was like, Mom, let's do this. It's like, well, I told her you was going.
It's called voluntold.
And that's what it was. And it was like, and you know, once your mama said it was just like, and they was like, I would get emails about meetings they would have it. Baby, I didn't go to a meeting. I was like, I'm not about to do. You know, I got stuff to do. I'm not about to do this.
Right.
And I was like, well, I told. And you already know. And so you already know. Emailing and calling. I was like, all right. Here goes
it doesn't matter that you're 30 and not 14.
No, it don't matter if I live in Nashville. It does not matter. I'm 35. None of that matters. Diana said you was gonna be on our panel. So what was Kendra on? The panel. But it's funny because after that, it really made me think about, there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, it still wears me out, who want to hear my voice and want to know, like, what do you have to say? And like my friends, like, Kendra, you have a very unique perspective. Like, of course, your dad's a pastor, your mom's super big in education, and like you are just you. And I'm just like, I don't know why y'all want to hear me talk, because I be trying to find the politically correct ways to say most of the stuff I want to say. But definitely lost my train of thought.
You talk about using your voice. Your mom was on you.
So I did the thing about church. I was like, okay, well that's on brand, because I am very much somebody who left the AME church, and so it was easy to talk about because I see that particular situation from a lot of different points of view. So being able to have that conversation with people that I grew up with and people who watched me grow up was awesome, because I was able to find a great way to say, y'all gotta do better, just across the board. But doing that, and then one of the things, like I told Mom, like the last thing I told her was like, okay, I'm gonna use my voice. Like you were a big advocate on me speaking and not just hiding behind my writing, because yes, I'm a writer and that's easy. But I also, like, my voice is important and sound is important. So that's why they're like, do you want to dance at the funeral or you want to talk? And I was like, I don't want to dance at the funeral. No, one, I want to put clothes on because, you know, something in me. And I was like, no, I'm going to talk, because I told Mom I'm going to use my voice. And so like this year, like I've always understood the weight of words, which is why I don't say a lot. But when I say a lot, it's a lot to say, because trust me, I've thought about it, processed it, because I've always been one of those. I respect my father's ministerial career, and I respect who my parents are. And so you will never see me out here just, like if you talk to me on a personal level, you're going to get my raw, honest truth.
Right.
I'm never going, but I was like, especially on social media platforms, I'm never going to just be out here just, because I understand I am still very much Reverend Pastor Elder Paul, Golfing's daughter. And so people will always see that. And I'm like, that's cool. Y'all have y'all moment. But like using my voice has been liberating this year, because it's not forced. It's like, I do have a lot to say, and I found a nice way to say it. But also being able to just realize that for whatever reason, people want to hear it. Right. So speak. Like, it's okay to talk. It don't have to come out correct. Like, as you talk, you'll work your way through it. And just being okay. So I was like, when he's like, yeah, so I was like, fine, why not? It's Derek, first of all. Second of all, I probably wouldn't share in this capacity on some stranger's platform. Like, we can talk about grief, but you'll get the spill. I give it work.
Right.
But like, it's been helpful. Like, I didn't know how I was gonna feel, because I was like, I don't really want to be crying. I don't know.
Right.
But I was like, it's Derek. It's not gonna be weird. So
Right. So
But I
I
don't
do.
really think about or talk about, like, it's very seldom that I cry when I talk about her. Because, like, it wasn't some, like, if I have to talk about that day specifically, yes, I talk about how I really, really, really don't like the little heart machine that's supposed to get your heart pumping. That was very aggressive, and I ain't never in my life wanted to fight a machine until that day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I fight back. Like, other than that, I'm like, but it wasn't like that was traumatic.
Right.
But other, like, her life wasn't traumatic. My life wasn't traumatic. Like, she gave me the best life possible. And so on this side of it, I'm like, of course I'm gonna cry, but I can't just be spit bubbles. Because previously I was like, now I'm gonna tell y'all now, when Diana go, y'all gonna have to pick me up off the floor and be rocking back and forth with spit bubbles. I was totally prepared to go there. And so when that didn't happen, like that third, like from that Tuesday into that first funeral, I was like, it was weird. I was just like, of course I'm crying because everybody around me is crying. And now I'm seeing people I haven't seen since elementary school. And so, but it was like, it didn't feel real. And so I'm like, my mama's gone. I'm supposed to be. And so, like, this year, I've been finding how to just talk and not feel like I sound crazy. She's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. How you doing? And it's like, didn't your mama die? I'm like, yeah. But I'm okay. Like, I'm good. Like, today's, you call me on a good day. Most of the bad days,
like you said, therapy and Jesus. And
therapy and Jesus. Therapy and Jesus. I have a very, very strong family system.
Yes.
I also have a very, very strong friend system. Like,
Right.
my support system is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I do not want to leave this and make it seem like I don't have those moments and days. No, there are very much spit bubble days, and I'm like dialing my mama's phone number. Whoever get her phone number next, I'm apologizing in advance. Because there are some moments I'm like, 859-333-5468. Like she's had that number forever. And if you know, like, mom and dad have always had the same number. Like,
right.
Like, dad is same number since the first time dad ever gave you his phone number. It's the exact same number. And I'm like, it's always been the same. So I'm like, now I'm like, those moments, like, it doesn't have to be spit bubble moments. And that's like, that's what it don't have to be spit bubble moments. Today does not have to be a spit bubble day. Like, it's okay.
When the biggest shock for me, I keep saying we're gonna end it. This is a country goodbyes. The biggest shock for me.
All right, I'm leaving.
I know, right? When I did my grandmother's eulogy, I choked up a little bit, a couple times, definitely. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until my sister's wedding that I publicly. So sister's wedding, I write my own liturgy. Whenever I do somebody's wedding, I'm expensive.
I love that.
Because I write. I'm so serious because I want to know, and I am like, who are you? How did y'all meet? And
I know because when I know you, so it's like, I mean, of course it was your sister's wedding, so of course it'd be personable. But
exactly.
I was like, I love the way you tailor your wedding. Like, it's like, well, that was your sister, but it was just like, yes, this was meant to be. I love it.
Exactly. So even people that I don't even know, like people find me online, they're like, you do our wedding? Yeah, it's expensive because I put hours into this. But we did like a little memorial thing where we started when we mentioned the ancestors. And I had prepared for the wedding and I was already, I knew I was going to feel emotions because my nieces and my sister. So I was prepared for that. What I wasn't prepared for was to say my grandmother's name. And I had written it and gone over and practiced. But it was just the weight of seeing my nieces walk in, of seeing my sister, and knowing that my grandmother was supposed to be here and she is here, but she's not dancing with me. She's not. And so I choked up.
That's what I wanted to ask you. How was, like, after your grandmother died, how was, like, family gathering? Because your family's, like, big like mine. And, like, so, like, my thing has been, if you've seen my mom, you've seen her sisters and her mom.
Exactly.
They look exactly alike.
Exactly.
And so, like, I was telling my grandma, my aunts, I was like, it's not personal. Right. I just cannot physically right now. I cannot be in a room, like, on my mom's birthday, which is January, which was hard because December and then January and then their wedding anniversary the same weekend as her birthday.
Right.
So we were in South Carolina with my grandmother. And so I was like, outside of that, that's the only time I've been around my family outside of my that side of my family, because my grandfather died over the summer. So like then my dad's side of the family came, so I saw them, of course. But like my mom's sisters, I was like, physically, I can't because y'all
Right.
all look like her, y'all sound like her. And my next thing is like, I want to hear it's all of y'all. So it's like, you got a part, you got a part, you got a part, and I'd be looking for her part. I'm not ready to put myself in the place to be looking for her part.
This question is so good. So, okay, rewind. My grandmother got sick. The last time I saw her up, active, healthy was Christmas of the year before Christmas 1 year almost before she died.
Okay.
So she, I saw her at Christmas. We were hanging out. I could tell, like, oh, she's lost weight. Oh, she looks a little sick. A couple weeks later, she's in the hospital and was in and out of the hospital for the next year.
Gotcha.
I went to Vegas around Christmas, and I was debating coming home for Christmas or staying in Vegas because she was sick, and Christmas was always her time. She would decorate the house, and I was like, I don't know if I can see her like this, but I'm like, Derek, bruh, it's Christmas. You cannot not go see your sick granny Christmas. And so came back like Christmas Eve, went to Louisville, saw her. That was the last time I saw her alive, was Christmas Day of that year. My mother called me and told me that, she's sick, she was already sick, but, she's super sick, maybe another week before she passes. And so I was like, all right, Mama, I'll be there tomorrow. Well, she died the next day before, I could get there. And so all that to say, there's like a year of in and out of the hospital. My mother's, living there and taking care of her. And the first time I went, I always call it my grandmother's house, even though it was my grandfather's house too. They lived there since 1963. But like my grandfather was much quieter spirit. My grandmother was the loud, boisterous, and that was like the hub. So the first time I went there, she died in January. It was like February, maybe March. They had got new furniture, new floors, painted, got rid of stuff. And I felt some type of way because I walked in and I was expecting to see her house and everything was different. And so I didn't say anything. But when I went to the next therapy session, I was like, bruh, I'm like, and they got rid of this and they got rid of that. And as I'm saying it, I'm literally saying, but they sat there and watched her die for a year in that house. And so if that's what they needed to do to feel better, who am I to and they let me have whatever I wanted. They was like, we ain't throw nothing, you want something,
grab it, baby.
So all that to say, it was hard because like when you have like a personality like my grandmother, it took up so much space. And she was like I said, people like her, you don't expect to die because they're just too important.
Exactly.
In the
here forever.
Yeah, like you're in it. Like she was the wheel in the middle, sitting next to Jesus. Like so, it was. So it was like so. It's super hard, honestly. But family stuff, because my family is big and they like to do the family thing.
Yeah,
but
tell your mom I'm coming to dinner one day.
I got you. Because I was over my sister's house Friday night after the game. But the blessing is because like we did the every Sunday thing, because we did the birthday, the Super Bowl party, this thing. It was weird with her not being there, but the little kids helped tremendously. My anxiety of how I would feel the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas, the first this was way worse than the actuality. Because what you see is, like, the whole I will not let feelings of grief cripple me. You have the babies who don't know, and you want to give them the experience that you had. Yeah. So, like, when I tell people my nieces are my world, because that generation, and some of them remember her, but most, they were two. One wasn't born. One was 1 or 2 when she passed. Right. So it's like, but I want them to have the same memories, dyeing Easter eggs and carving the pumpkin and, like having the whole thing. So they're the ones that help. And then you find ways. To me, it's important, which I tell my family all the time, instead of not talking about her, or instead of like being afraid of the grief, baby, if we go cry, let's all cry together. Like we gonna do so. And I love talking about her, and it's helpful because I learned about family members that died 20 years before I was born, because my granny would always, oh, cousin Jenny used to do this, and you don't know so and so, but they used to make this. And so I collected all those stories. And so it's important for me. I don't focus on, because a whole lot of people did. All her siblings are dead now. So it's like, instead of me focusing on what's missing, and that's part of the grief too, is, man, I'm old, it's different, I'm a rung higher. I remember the age I am now. I remember when my mama was this age. I remember when my grandmother was the age my mama is. Like, all of this keeps happening. I focus on doing my part for the next generation. So I'm making it weird for my nieces. I'm, how's school? My granny asked you about school and work. And then when you graduate school, all right, how's work? All right, you know what I'm saying? How's the job going? It was like, so I just felt, I focused on what we have to like maintain. And my mother works really hard, sometimes too hard, but that's a whole other podcast, to create these dinners and these moments. And I get frustrated sometimes because food is expensive, and you got 30 people.
Because
and I'm like,
because your mama goes just like mine.
Exactly. And I'm like, girl, that's my inheritance.
Buy these people chicken and ribs.
But I tell, like your daddy collects mugs, your mama collected people, my mama collects groceries. Like, I'm gonna get in trouble. But my mama got 3-4 refrigerators, deep freeze. Like but it's so important for her. Like, that's not who I am. I'm like, we can go out to eat and it's cheaper. Everybody spends $20, $30.
Bring your own $30 and we can have a good time.
But my mama, like, she loves the cooking, the preparing, the people
that's how mom was.
Stopping
like,
in.
Mom was,
Exactly.
Like, had like hosting, and I was like, I thank God every day that my sister got that.
She likes it.
She loves her. Chastity goes in events for everything.
That's my sister.
Yes, yeah.
My sister's house is the hub now.
Yes,
and so I'd be like,
that is how. Yes, my sister and your sister are like in that way.
I text her.
To be. I was like, I'm excited that you like hosting, and James, now that he's got his house, James likes hosting because I'm not. You're not coming.
When I got into Louisville on Friday, I was going to go to Indies. I was about to go get, some little pig legs and some rib tip. I'm thinking of all this stuff I don't need. But then I text my sister. I'm like, hey, what you doing? She's like, cooking food. And I'm like, what you cooking? And then she's like, tacos or something. I was like, oh, I was going to go to Indies, but I'm going to come I'm going to come over here and get a taco.
I need to go to Louisville on the weekends.
So,
go to your sister's house on Fridays.
But here's the funny part, though. When we were growing up, I would wake up and I smelled chitlins. My mama's cleaning and cooking chitlins, or I would feel like, help me clean up the such and such. So we got a couple people coming over, and a couple people be like 30 people. And I'm like, why all these people over here? Like, I remember saying to myself, when I'm old, I will not. I will. I'm like, Mama, you better, because I am not taking on this tradition. But thank God for my sister.
Thank God for your sister.
Thank God for your sister.
Because they like that, and I love that they like that.
And
we don't have to.
And I come, I spread my sunshine. I'm working on a letter for my niece right now. So that she can, because
I got a picture I want to send you to do for my niece.
Oh, that's good. But we gotta do our part. I think this is a good spot to end. We done went longer than we was planning to. But you talk, so you just be talking. I just be talking, and I didn't even tell all the business because this is a serious topic. But that's a whole other pod.
I'll come back. Have me back, and we can.
You gotta come back.
We need to have an uncensored.
Watch what happens live.
What happens live version, because
the meeting after the meeting.
We got stories.
Yeah. So, how can we find you on social media?
You have to put it on the screen for the people. K.Air with 2 eyes on most things. I don't know.
Which one do you want people to?
Diane on Facebook. It's gonna be on Facebook. Kendra Diane on Facebook.
Kendra Diane on Facebook.
The easiest one. That's really the only one I remember.
Are people allowed to slide into your DMs? I just, there might be a young man who watches this.
Don't slide into my DMs.
I just ask because I don't.
Slide into my DMs. My DMs
all right, see.
Closed. No, we're not taking applications.
Well, you heard it. You heard it here first. Don't slide into mine either. I'm just saying. But I always ask because listen.
I mean, hey, no. My siblings is two of the 4 of us. There you go. We got 2 single ones. If y'all looking, listen to the podcast too. To my DMs, please don't.
I know that's right.
I'm gonna give you my daddy's phone number.
I know that's right. Well, I'll put the Facebook on the screen. And thank you so much. And thank you so much for being on the pod.
Thanks for having me, DerekTerry.
Yay. Take care. God bless. RevDerekTerry at RevDerekTerry. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. I got a TikTok I need to edit. Take care. Peace.